Hello and welcome! I want to invite you into a space, not for a lesson really, but for a moment of quiet. A chance to think about a different way of moving through the world, one that comes from a very, very old stream of wisdom. Let's explore this art of flow.
Just take a moment. Look around. Feel the rhythm of our world. You know what it's like? It's a race, isn't it? It feels relentless. There's this constant hum of pressure, telling us to do more, be more, get more.
You hear the phrases all the time, right? Work hard, play hard. You've got to unlock your full potential. We're always being told to push harder, to climb that ladder. And we're chasing this idea of happiness, this horizon. But it's funny, isn't it? The more we run towards it, the further away it seems to get.
But what if the whole point isn't to win? What if the race itself is the problem? More than 2,000 years ago, thinkers like Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi, they suggested a totally different way. Not about striving and struggling, but about finding a deep inner peace, a way to just stop running and to just be.
So our path here, it starts by looking inward. Think about it. Our culture pushes us to create this image, right? The perfect life we post online, the super competent person we pretend to be at work. But a lot of that is just a front, a fragile facade. Taoism says, before you do any of that, first build a stable foundation, something real, something rooted in who you actually are.
Lao Tzu has this beautiful quote, "Those who stand on tiptoes do not stand firmly. Those who rush ahead don't get very far." I mean, just picture that. You're in a crowd, and you stand on your tiptoes to get a better view. And for a second, it works. You can see. But how long can you really hold that? Your legs start to shake, you're burning energy, you're wobbly, it's completely exhausting and unstable. And that's his metaphor for a life lived trying to be more than you are.
So what does standing on tiptoes look like in real life? Well, it's rushing into a project you're not ready for. It's bragging about things to look good. It's buying stuff you can't really afford to keep up appearances. And the Taoist point here isn't that this is bad in a moral sense. It's that it's just not practical. It's so incredibly stressful. You're always in this vulnerable spot, worried someone will find you out, just trying to hold the pose. Real solid growth, it's not about stretching up to the sky. It's about planting your feet firmly on the ground and putting down roots right where you are.
Okay, now we get to something that might feel a little backwards at first. It's a real paradox. We're taught that strength means being hard, right? Like a rock, rigid, unmoving. But the Taoists, they looked at the natural world and they saw something totally different. They realized that real, lasting strength is actually found in the opposite, in being soft and flexible. Now let's be really clear about this. When we say softness, we do not mean weakness. It's actually a kind of deep, profound strength. It's the discipline of doing something small, over and over again. It's the patience of planting a seed. You water it, you give it sun, and then you have to let nature do its thing. You can't yell at it to grow faster. It's about being willing to adapt to things, instead of just shattering when things don't go your way. And water is the perfect example of this. Lao Tzu said, "Water is the softest and most yielding substance. Yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid." Just think about the Grand Canyon. How did that happen? A river flowing day after day for millions of years, slowly, gently, persistently carved its way through solid rock. It wasn't one big explosion. It was that gentle, unending flow. Softness overcoming the hard. Think about that rock again. It seems so strong, so solid. But if you hit it with a hammer or an earthquake hits, it shatters. It's brittle. And that's a lot like a person who has really rigid plans and expectations. When life throws something unexpected at them, something that doesn't fit the plan, they break. But now, try hitting water with a hammer. What happens? Nothing, right? The water just yields. It parts, it absorbs the impact, and then it flows right back together as if nothing happened. It adapts. It reforms. And this is the whole point. Because it's flexible, because it yields instead of fighting back head-on, water is basically unconquerable. You can't break it, you can't shatter it, and that is the nature of real strength. The ability to adapt, to endure, and to just flow around things until they're no longer obstacles.
All right, we're about to dive into what might be the most difficult idea for us to wrap our heads around today. It comes from Zhuangzi, and it goes against pretty much everything our modern, productive world tells us. It's the idea that there is profound wisdom in being useless.
So Zhuangzi tells this story.
A carpenter is walking through a forest looking for good timber. He comes across this enormous ancient tree, but its trunk is all gnarled and twisted. The branches are crooked, the wood is full of knots, and the carpenter just looks at it, scoffs, and walks on by. He says to his apprentice, "That tree is a wasted time. The wood is useless. Can't make anything out of it."
But here's the twist, the real irony of the story. All the other trees in the forest, the straight ones, the useful ones, they all got chopped down. Their usefulness was their death sentence. But the crooked tree, the useless one, it was left alone. It got to live for centuries, growing bigger and more unique, until eventually people started to see it as a sacred place. Its so-called uselessness is exactly what saved it and allowed it to have this long, incredible life.
And this connects so deeply to our world. We're called human resources. We're valued for how useful, how productive we can be. We turn our hobbies into side hustles. We try to optimize our sleep. But Taoism suggests we should protect our uselessness. This isn't about being lazy. It's about protecting the parts of yourself that don't have a price tag, the things you do just for the joy of it. Think about it. The person who is too useful, who can do everything, is often the first one to get burnt out, to get used up. There's a real freedom, a real kind of self-preservation in being a little bit of a crooked tree.
So this all leads us to our final piece of the puzzle. It kind of pulls all these other ideas together into a way of living. It's the art of what's called Wu Wei. Now that can be translated as non-action or non-doing, but that's a bit misleading. It doesn't mean sitting around and doing nothing. It means acting in a way that's in harmony with the natural flow, without forcing things, without straining. It's about loosening that desperate grip we have on some future goal and just flowing with what's happening right now. You know, the way we're taught to live is like trying to climb a huge mountain with a heavy backpack on. We're staring at the peak, that next promotion, that bigger house, and we completely ignore the path we're on. We keep adding more stuff to the backpack, possessions, status, but it just gets heavier and heavier. And Zhuangzi said that this thing we call success is actually a kind of bitter suffering, because all that anxiety about getting things and then the fear of losing them, it just creates chaos inside us.
But what's the alternative? Nature shows us. There's a simple saying. When a bird drinks from a pond, it only fills its belly. Think about that. The bird takes just what it needs for right now. It doesn't try to haul the whole pond with it, worried about tomorrow. There's this deep trust that when it's thirsty again, it will find water. Now, this isn't about being poor. It's about sufficiency. It's the wisdom in knowing what's enough and trusting that life will provide.
Okay, so let's bring all of this together. Think of these 4 ideas as little streams. We're going to let them all merge now into one single flowing river, a complete way of being in the world, one that can maybe guide us away from all that stress and towards a kind of quiet, unshakable peace.
And remember, these aren't just 4 separate rules you have to memorize. They're all part of the same mindset. It's about choosing a stable foundation over a fragile image. It's about being soft and persistent like water, instead of hard and brittle like a rock. It's about cherishing that useless part of you that the world can't exploit. And finally, it's about letting go of that constant struggle for what's next and learning to trust the natural current of life, the Tao, to carry you.
So it all comes down to this one question, really. Our world, our culture, it tells us to be a rock. Be solid, be strong, be unmovable. But we know that the rock is brittle. The rock can be shattered. The river, on the other hand, it's soft. It yields. It adapts. It flows on and on. It endures. So in a world that is screaming at you to be a rock, can you learn to be the river?